So in Power BI, you have to decide what kind of formula you want to create. Is it going to be a new table? A new table means that the outcome of your formula is going to be a table. A new column means the outcome of your formula of your DAX is going to become a column, right? And the new measure means that the outcome of your DAX, that's the one that is a bit difficult for some people to wrap their heads around. A new measure does not create a column. A new measure is like what we do in Excel when we are doing things like aggregation, sum, average, something that at the end of the day, you're going to have one answer, one record as an answer. You're not going to have a table. You're not going to have a column, a list of answers coming up by different rows. No, you're going to have just one outcome. So that outcome is not going to show him this place where I am in my Power BI. It's not going to show in the model side. It becomes an outcome that you will have to place on a visual. So you maybe place it on a card, you put it in a matrix, you're not going to see it the same way you're going to see a table, or you're going to see a column, right within your model. This is what we call the model. What looks like tables like this, right? So I'm guessing many people are already a bit familiar with that. So I am going to okay, maybe to make things easy, since most of us are a beginner, I won't use this. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to use something a bit simplified, so that way you will see the beginning side of it. So I'm going to open Power BI afresh. So I won't use something that has data at all. So I open Power BI afresh, and then I'm going to import some data that are data that everybody can relate with. So maybe while the Power BI is opening, let me just try to go grab what kind of data I'm going to use for this demonstration. I would prefer to use a data that is transactional related. So let's see. Let me sales. Okay, I could use sales data. Okay, so I'm going to use sales data. And so open a blank Power BI. I'm going to import an Excel file. And then I've seen a file that I will use that is not complex, so that it doesn't look like you are lost in data, and at the same time I can do something that everybody can benefit from. You're going to have a mix of formulas that will fall under what a beginner will find valuable, and hopefully I will touch on some formulas that even the person in advance might see as a refresher or also find valuable. So let me just take a look at this. All right, so I'm going to use this one then. I can see right away that there are some issues with the file. It's not picking the first row as header, and then I can see that it's picked more than the columns I need. So in that case, I'll have to do transform data. So that way I can go try and fix the minor issues that are in it. So that is going to come up soon. Okay, so now that this has come up, before now, one can zoom in here. Unfortunately, the zoom, maybe it's just mine, or it's just like that for everybody. It's gone off. It no longer works. So before I could click on control and scroll my mouse button and it zooms. But nonetheless, I'm going to use my computer zoom. So I'm going to say that I want first row as header. Okay. So that should fix the problem number one. Then I also want to take out all these ones, right? They are not part of my needed data. They are just empty columns. So I'm going to remove these ones. So what we have is a sales table, transactions, pegs to branches, the product, the unit price, sales discount, and the time, the sale. So this time, because I have dates separately, this time should just be time. Okay, I think everything is looking as it should be. Maybe I could make this one currency. So currency, all that means this should be percentage. And so this is good, huh? I close and apply. So this shouldn't take time since it's just one file. It's not all that very huge. So once it comes on, then we dig into the DAX that will make sense to do. And hopefully you begin to see when it makes sense to do column, when it makes sense to do table, and then when it makes sense to do measures, and then also the different types of DAX. Like I said, the ones I commonly use. So that's the way I'm going to go at it. I'll start from the ones I commonly use, and as much as time will allow us, then I go from that most used to less use. Okay. So now I have all of those data now in here. So I have the sales data, and then I have them showing here. And then, so let's start with what are the kind of things that we want to do. So number one is, let me just fix this. It is not dollars, we're in Nigeria. So let me put it in Naira. And one other thing I've noticed, I've seen that my discount has gone up. It's a percentage. The discounts are still there. Okay, yeah, they're still there. Okay, great. All right, so now I have price, I have quantity. I do not have sales amount. So what do you think? Am I going to create a new measure, a new column, a new table? Think about it. What I want is a table, it's a column that will be sales amount. So that means I'm going to create a new column. So I'm going to create a new column. And then I'm going to call the column sales amount. And the normal algebraic calculus, normal this times that is going to work. If it was divide, then you will know that there is a formula for divide. I mean, there is a special formula name, for divide. But if you type multiply, you will not have. And that one for divide is just so in case you divide by 0, so it doesn't give the kind of errors you get in Excel. But in this case, we can just simply say that I want to do the unit price times the quantity times the quantity, same of just now. So you see, I use a lot more of it's called like autofill, like IntelliSense, like you type the beginning, it pops up, you pick what it is that you want when it's already part of the options that is popping up. And just to let it be aware that, again, Mr., it is not dollars, it is Naira. Okay. So, new column. As you must have been hearing, that you should make a habit of creating a date table in your DAX report. I mean, in your Power BI report, and also importantly too, though I think Power BI has now, I think they have fixed it. So the settings in the default setting that a lot of times you want to make sure that when you go to File and you go to Options you want to set that option, you want to uncheck it. So when my screen comes up, I'm going to show you that. So you see, you want, this thing, this time intelligence, you want it to be disabled, right? So you want it disabled. Then a lot of times before now, we used to have to come here and do that to disable these, but you can also disable it in the global. So mine is not enabled, and that also is one issue that comes with performance if you have it enabled. Okay, and it kind of negates the having to create your date table too anyway. So always ensure that this is disabled, otherwise your file will just start ballooning, in size and performance will suffer. Okay, so that's the one thing that almost everybody in the Power BI community says you should always do. Even Microsoft themselves, they say it. The guy in a box, or guy in a, they're very common. I mean, they're very popular, and they have sessions on that. So I'm back here, and I want to go to what I've just said, like create a date table, right? So we want to create a date table, which means if I go to my settings of the places I need to pick what kind of DAX I want to create. In this case, before this would be model, then you go to model and you pick what kind of formula you want to create. Now there's table tools. So you say you want to create a new table. And so once I click on it, new table, then I'm going to call it date table. So that's what I usually call mine. Date table. Date table. And then the most common way of creating it is to say calendar. So there are two. There's calendar and there's calendar auto. If you do calendar auto, well, as you can see from the name, auto means it will auto infer the date range. So if I do calendar auto, you don't need to necessarily put anything inside, right? It's going to auto infer the date. So I can see that it's starting from 18900. That's part of the problems that come with it. It has created, take a look, it has created 44,560 days. And I know that this company did not exist in 1899. So a lot of times we decide, when I say we, most of us in creating our date table, we use calendar so that we're able to specify the start and the end. So usually, like sometimes for me, I might know the start date that I want. There are some reports that I do for companies that we've already agreed in the project scope that they only want to see from 2017, into the future. So I don't need to go and be picking that again from somewhere else. I can just plug it in and say it has already been agreed that we should just go from 2017 to today. So if that's what it is, I will just do that. Some other time you could want it to pick, and you will say, okay, we should go and pick the smallest date in your dates field. So if I go to the sales data date, you should pick the smallest date. The issue with that is if there's any wrong entry, maybe there is a particular, maybe there's no, like especially for Excel, where there's no referential integrity or there's no anything to check to ensure that that field is not empty. You'll find out that empty is equal to 1899. And I'm guessing maybe that's what is the problem with this data that I'm working on. There are probably some empty rows that are coming up with that. So not to flog the whole point, I'm just going to do what I usually do based on what I agree with the client to go to be like, oh, I want to go just far back to 2018, January, and then first, okay, and then end date can end on today. So today can be the end date. Okay. So if I do that, observe this, and I can tell you that it should not bother putting time there. It should just come as dates. Then the other thing that we like to do a lot is to extract out the different perspectives you're going to need. So you start seeing that a lot of time in date tables, people begin to grab out, okay, I usually would like to have the month as a three-letter word. So more, I can bring that out as 1, 2, 3. So this graph for me the month. Then also I want to get out the year. I want to get out the month number because I'm going to need that to sort the month. So again, create month number, and that is going to be the month of the date. Then also, I want to grab out the year month, usually month year, yeah, month year. So I say month year date month year, and then I also want to be able to sort the month here so that when I put the month here on a graph axis, it's not going to be arranged alphabetical. So I also do month year number. So I typically do month year number, month year number, and that one is a bit easy. It's just to say I have to cross it anyway to be a number. So I'm going to be like date and so the way to properly arrange it, the year should come first, right? And then the month. So that way, when you sort your month year by this, it will sort correctly. Okay, then sometimes I do quarter, right? So since you never can tell if the client is going to need it, so most times I just let's plug it in there. So quarter. Maybe a space so that the quarter. Sometimes you might want Q1, Q2, if that's what you want. Alright, sometimes you use quarter like this. It's the preference is yours anyway. So comes up with that. Is there any other thing I'm missing that I normally pull out? When there's anything that is missing, we can always come back and bring it. So now let's see what I was mentioning. If I come in here and I throw in a line chart. So I throw in a line chart. Now this line chart that I've popped in here, I want to plot sales. So I want to plot sales, which goes to values. I want to plot it, for different months. So if I put the month in axis, right? So check it out. Are you noticing that there's an issue here, right? My month is not aligning. Let's forget about the figures for now. This is not the way you want months to be arranged, right? So what do I do? You could be like, okay, maybe it's not sorting by, let's go and say you sort by month. Okay, so I've set it to sort by month. Let's see, it's still not. Now it's doing ABCD kind of sorting, right? So that's where these things come to play. So if I come in here, I'm going to pick the month. I will say I need it to be sorted by the month number. So once I do that, that should fix this one. So now my month is sorting, except that ascending is what I want. So I see it from January to December. So that's one why you want to always create those number versions. Similarly, too, if it was the month year that I'm working with. So let's say I'm working with the month year. So if you see, I'm having the same problem, right? It's just like then December, like ABCD kind of sorting, and it's not even considering the years, right? So similarly to, I go in here and say the month year should be sorted by the month year number. Okay, so with that done, I should have this one too now fixed. Okay, and as for the figures, it's just to ensure that there is a relationship. So if I go to manage relationships and then I create a relationship between the dates table and my sales data. So I'm going to say the date here is related to the date here, and that will be all for that one. So the figures should start making sense now. Great. All right, so let's move on. So now that I have this, what are the common types of calculations that again I do that involves me, picking up DAX? So because of the limitation that comes with just one table, I will do some things that might not make practical sense, but just to make us to be able to create the DAX or touch on the DAX that I commonly use, right? So what if I want to filter out just a Lekki table, right? So as you can see here, we have different branches. So I want to filter out for a particular branch. Now you may be thinking, why would you want to filter out for a particular branch in a table? Why not just have it, in your report that the person can pick a slicer? An example is, I've had cases where we figured out that there's one particular branch that the information is just wrong. For all the other branches, correct, but that particular branch is wrong. So they want me to send them the data for that branch. So maybe this is an opportunity to show you the DAX Studio. I use DAX Studio more for that. So ordinarily, if you are doing it here in Power BI, you would have to come here and say you want to create a new table. So I go here, I want to create a new table. Okay. So as usual, so I can call this the Lekki transactions. Okay. And then I say this is exactly what I mean by filter. So I'm going to filter the entire sales data table, and I'm going to say where the branch is equal to Lekki. So if you see that it's a lot like English. Filter the table you want to filter, and then the condition, right? And I click on this and I do enter. It's going to bring out transactions that are just there. And then you could now right click and say you want to copy the table. So you copy the table, and then you could open Excel. So now, because this table is a lot, you see it's taking time, right? So yeah, those of you that were here last week, maybe this is an opportunity to show you what I was trying to say, that I normally use DAX Studio when I have this. And this is not a lot of, it's not like this, the data is not that large. It's not even anywhere close to the type of size that I deal with. So let's see if it has copied it. Then I paste, I think it has. You see it's taking time, even the pasting is taking time, right? Sometimes this will lock up your system resource. So then I'm going to be emailing this to the company and say, okay, this is the Lekki data, and then they could maybe send to the Lekki branch manager and tell him to find out why, is there anything wrong with this, because this is what is on the ERP. How come it's not matching what he's saying is the sales figure? So you've seen this, right? Well, let me show you how I do the same thing, and I do DAX Studio more. I don't really do this one. You've seen that this locks up my screen, and I'm even lucky. See, this is just how many rows of information. This is just it's a bit heavy anyway, 375,000. But for the things that I do deal more with, they can be like 13 million rows. You want to do copy table. And this is 16 gig RAM. My PC is 16 gig RAM. And I have something that is running on my PC that forces it to always work at full CPU level. It's called throttle shop. So this thing, I thought I have it open before anyway. So this thing is the things for gamers. Gamers use it. They use it to make their computer always work at extremes, at 100% capacity, right? So that's what I use. So my computer is always hot. I have to buy a cooling pad. It's always working as if it's a server, like it's working. It doesn't have all this power save stuff. This one disables all this. Let me use in quote useless power save, because it's useless for me. I'm not trying to conserve batteries. Performance is more important for me. So despite my PC working like extreme end, I had to even buy things online, uncouple the PC, put thermal paste, put new ways for it to cool faster so that my CPU will not fry, and then put this thing on 100%. So I'm just trying to say that with all of that, you will still have performance issues if you want to be copying directly from there. So now let's talk about how I could have achieved the same thing with DAX Studio. So if I turn on DAX Studio, and then I will preferably want to use DAX Studio for some of the table formulas. I will tell you the second reason. So if I pick this, say connect. Okay, so it's connected, and so I'm going to show you the difference between this and that, right? So let's start with number one. Number one is the fact that it's the same thing I want to do. Maybe let's do for a separate branch. I want to extract out Ikoyi branch. So let me just go confirm if I have Ikoyi branch. Let's see if there is actually a branch called Ikoyi. Okay, I'm on the exported data. So let's go to the original data. Then let's check out what other branches exist. All right, so there's Badon, there's Ikoyi, there's Lekki, there's Bagada. So awesome. Let's just go with Ikoyi I was mentioning. So I'm just going to come in here and see evaluate. So you saw me type it last week. So I come in here and say evaluate. This is bad news. I think the thing is looping. It could be Teams that is affecting this thing. It doesn't do this way. I noticed it did something like this last week also. And when I'm not screenshotting or when I'm not doing a live presentation like this, I don't experience this kind of. So anyway, let's see if it will start writing now. Evaluate. That's not a problem. Close it. First close it. And we start it. It looks like it's looking, so I'm going to close it. Close. Okay. So I'm going to start it all over again. DAX. Say connect. Okay. So evaluate. Right. Let me see if I can zoom the screen. Oh, awesome. So this one works. Before, well, the Power Query side anyway of Power BI, you also can do this, but somehow I don't know it stopped. So that filter I was writing the other time, right? Filter, then sales table, sales data, right? Then where branch, where there's another way to get it out. Just come here and you double click, it's going to write it out. Is equal to ECOE. So now, if I run this F5 or run on the screen, on the menu. So if I run it, you're going to see the results. So there's a result that comes up. So it's running it anyway. So now, I want to tell you the two differences. Difference number one is, you will notice that on my right side of my screen, I am not having another table created for me. I'm not having a ECOE table created. Unlike when I did this in here, it automatically created a second table, another table, which I really don't need. I only just wanted to export out the data. So there are sometimes that I'm thinking through some processes. I'm thinking, should I maybe first group this thing, do cross-join, check if the answer will be before putting it in a measure, right? So I find that it's a lot better to do this on the DAX Studio instead of doing it on the Power BI, where everything you do is like a table formula, creates another table that you will not have to remember to go and delete. So when I'm done copying this now, I will normally have to come back here and delete and say, oh, I never really needed this to be a permanent part of my model. I just needed it as something to be able to extract and copy and send to somebody, right? So that's one advantage I get with using DAX Studio. I can be able to do whatever I want to do, see the outcome if it's to see, and if it is to export it, then I'm able to come in here and say you should export as they've added this before, you will have to, so I can say I want to export it as a static Excel file, and then now if I run it, you will see it's going to create an Excel file that, so it's asking me for the name for the file now. I'm going to call this the ECOE transaction. The thing is having some fits of coldness. It's shivering. So I just hope the shiver does not hamper it from working. Yeah. This is serious. Let me see if there's any double data I can replace. This is only issue. Okay. Let me try it again. Let me do cancel. See. Okay, not a problem. I'm going to just close it again, and it doesn't work this way. It's not always having this issue. This is running, it's like it's rerunning it very over and over again. Task manager. Okay, so let me just try it once more. If it's, which I think it will do again, because I can't really say it doesn't do like this normally. So it's a very, I'm thinking maybe there's something between it and Teams. Because it's when I'm using Teams that it seems to be having these fits. Okay. So if it comes up nice, great, we can finish that step. If it doesn't, not a problem. We'll move on. So at least you can begin to get the idea about why I say I use this a lot more. Okay. So what other DAX functions do I use, right? So apart from the filter, there's also calculate table. There are also values. So let's talk about, say for instance, I want to extract out all of the different products, right? So I can just come in here. That's why I use the DAX Studio more, because sometimes why I'm doing this is not necessarily so that so let's do a new table. It's not because I want to create it the way the formula has brought it out. So new table. So let's say the different branches have different branch managers. So we want to do branch managers. Okay. So to do branch managers, I need to get out the distinct branches. So distinct branch. So similarly to values. So there's a difference between values and distinct. And when it comes to the measures, values is what you want to use. Values is able to recognize relationships, and that helps you a lot more to get actual correct values in calculation. So you will see that most people use values a lot more because of that difference anyway. Let me see, it's like someone dropped a chat message. Maybe the DAX Studio help you develop more DAX queries. Okay, Thomas is mentioning something. Then also, Mr. Dapo is saying the DAX Studio helps you visualize. Yeah, the DAX Studio helps you visualize the data. You don't have to create a new table. So now that I've done this, I want to assign branch managers to the different. So this happens a lot in my real work where they will tell me that oh, for the different customers, there are different categorizations, or different branches have different branch managers. So usually they would have sent me an Excel file. But the problem is that a lot of times, sometimes their own Excel file does not capture all of them. Maybe their own Excel file was like 2 months ago. There have now been some new branches. So I also like to extract that from the data, what I have. And I even like to use mine as the basis of the whatever static definition I'm going to create, right? So I can come in here and copy, right? And then again, you might be like, why are you doing this? Unless you've been in my shoes, you might not know. So there's a way to create static table in Power BI that's like as if you are typing data in Excel. So if I go to enter data, right, I can say I want to create this now. Then I can now ask them for the managers of those different branches, right? So maybe the manager for this is Tunde Sali. Maybe the manager for this is Jumoke Bello. Maybe the manager for this is Henry Osoko. Again, in a real life, in an ideal case, all these definitions should be set on their enterprise software. But the truth is, even if they intend to, sometimes it's not always done from day one. So you will still have to either have it, if it's something that doesn't change, so this is good. If we know that the managers don't change, so this might not be good for managers, since managers will change. So most of the time I use this for SKU and product and category, because those ones don't change. For a malt drink, this will always be a non-alcoholic drink. Whereas for the beer, so those ones don't change. What that happens is that you can have new products. So that's like the worst that happens. So, but by the time you do this, anyway, so let's carry on. I'm going to just focus more on the formulas anyway. So I'm going to call this the branch. So the ones that change, you preferably tell them to put it in an Excel file or OneDrive, and you can update. So that one is good. But the ones that will never change, you can do this approach. So this might not be a good approach for what I'm doing, because branch managers will definitely change. Someone will leave. They can't even be there for life, because nobody lives forever anyway. So you find out that now I don't need this one. I have to delete it. So those are some of the issues I face with where I find the DAX Studio or advantageous. Okay. Sometimes that I just need some things to grab something to use to create something else. Okay. Then so let's move on gradually to another set of formulas. So let's go to, I want to do a formula that will always get for me the sales for a particular branch, right? So we've been doing more of column, and we've done column in the date formula. We did a lot of column formulas. We've done table formulas. What about measures? Okay, so now let's do measures, right? So I have created here a card. So I'm going to put up a card in here so that at least you see what I'm doing. I'm going to drag this to the side, zoom my screen, then I go in here, I add the card. So the card that I've added, this is a really big size card. I'm going to reduce the size. So a lot of times, sometimes you want to always show. So let me just do how sometimes most of us like to show this. I maybe want to have a section dedicated for just the sales by the different branches. So I want to have like, so in here, I want to have maybe Lekki branch sales, and I have another branch sales. So which means that I come in here and I go to here, I drag sales to field. I don't know if you can see my screen. I drag sales to field. It shows the total sales, right? So this is going to be total sales. Now, I need to send this to the back. So send backward. Send to the back. I want that one to be on top, so this is a faster way. So sometimes when you are having issues with arrangement, sometimes it's just faster to just come here and rearrange manually. Card comes up, so now it's back up. For some weird reasons, it wasn't responding to my send to the back. All right, so the issue is this. If this is supposed to always show total sales means that, and let's write it here, category name. Well, sometimes it's faster to just come in here and say total sales. And voila, we have total sales. What makes this problematic is anytime someone clicks on anything, so are you seeing that my total sales is changing? So a lot of times you don't want to use that approach. So similarly to, as I created total sales, I will want to create the different branch sales too. So I could want to create Lekki sales. Where is my mouse? Problem, I can't find my mouse. Okay. Lekki sales. Because of time, I'm just going to do only those two for now. So I usually use a measure. So let's go to the measure side. So I'm going to, some people like to create a special table for their measures. I'm really indifferent. Sometimes I do, sometimes I put the measures in the table that makes better sense for it. So I'm going to come in here and new measure, and then I can say total sales. Total sales is equal to so calculate. So this is the most powerful DAX formula, calculate. So it allows you to control the filter context. It allows you to control what impacts. Every time I click on something on this chart, it's affecting that my previous calculation, right? So that's what we call filter context. I can control all of that with this. So I can say, it should sum for me the sales amount, and it should always pick all of the sales table. If I want my stuff to maybe be able to respond to year, I can maybe say it shouldn't pick everything minus year. But in this case, let's just see how it works. So now I can say it should pick all of the sales table, meaning that nothing from the sales table should be able to affect similarly to my date table. Let's see, what is affecting this thing is both the sales and the date. So let me say all of the sales table, all of the date table too. Right. So I'm waiting for it to, oh, I need to use it. So I'm going to replace this one. It's done. I'm going to replace this one with that one. So I'm going to say total sales here. So let's see. From this day onwards, you see that this no longer affects it. So similarly to if I want to do the Lekki sales, I can be able to say, okay, you know, I need all of the so I again do new measure, and then I say, what's the time? Okay, not a problem. We are going to, once I do this one, I'll show you one other very nice one I do a lot. Sometimes I see people struggle with things that this thing will have been what will do it for them. So once I just finish this Lekki sales one, so calculate sum of sales amount, right? But then, well, I don't want the date table to affect. So I knock off any filter that is coming from the date table. But then for my sales table, it's not everything I want to knock off, right? So I'm going to be like filter. So you can say I'm saying filter all of the sales data table, right? But then choose where the branch is equal to Lekki. Right. So I'm going to use this one in my Lekki sales card. So I'm going to just click on the Lekki sales card, then drag that one here. And you see, I will always have Lekki sales. So this is another very important, nothing affects it anymore, right? It's always permanently like that. Okay, so I'm going to round off with this very nice formula, CROSSJOIN. It's just unfortunate I can't show you with a live customer's work. But you see, assuming that we have different targets for different branches for different months. So now I want to create a table where I'm going to have the branch and then every month. So I'm going to have something like this. Let me go to Excel. What I want to create is something like this, where I'm going to have the branch, and then I'm going to have the year month, the month year. So I'm going to have like Lekki, then I'll have January 2020, you know, same Lekki again, February 2020, and then I can be able to now put in the targets, you know, that you are assigned, right? Unfortunately, I do not have that structure here, right? I have the branch somewhere. I have the branch here. I have, what other thing do I have? Okay, so anyway, let's create it. New table. So I can call this targets, and it's going to be CROSSJOIN. So I'm going to CROSSJOIN all of the branches. So if you remember what I said, you could use values to get all the distinct branches, and you could use distinct. And so let's say I use distinct here. So I need all the distinct branches from sales branch, right? I want to CROSSJOIN it with all of the months, right? So I need all of the months here. From my date table. So from that my date table, I don't need everything. So you see now that I'm having a bit of problem. I want to pick just the, so I'm going to again say values or distinct. Then I want the month here. The month here. I'm going to show you something interesting after. So if I do this, let's see what will come up. Can you see? So I have, if I sort this now, you're going to see what I was saying. If I sort this in descending, you see that, or ascending, let's say ascending. So you see that I have the Monday. Is there no February? How come there's no February in screen? But anyway, you see that that's what I was trying to do, right? Now, let's say we've given them targets, right? Let's quickly give them targets. Normally, targets will come from a different. But anyway, we are doing hypothetical stuff here, so not a problem. We can hypothetically give them target. So I'm going to do a rand between. So in case you didn't know, there's rand between in this one too. Yeah, 90 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then maybe 120 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, great. Now, I want to show you something interesting. If not because of time, I will have let you suffer like I suffered on the, or like I see many people suffer with this thing. So, I want to do a chart, this type of chart, right? But now, let me just drag this a bit here. But it is that new table. So I want the month year to be here. And then I want the target to be in values. Even I can have the sales amount in values, but for now, let's leave it as a target. So I want this, right? Now, the question is, how can I sort? Right? How can I sort? So we all remember that, oh, you know, I could have done the month and day, right? I mean, the number part of month here, like I already showed us. So if you try to do it, so maybe you like, okay, because of time, okay, if you create a relationship, if you come here and you create a relationship, I want to show you all the common things people do and you find out that they don't work. So if I come in here and I create a relationship, so I create a relationship between the date table and that target table. And then I say, okay, this month here and this month here, they are related, right? And should we leave it this way or both ways? Or anyway, let's try everything. So let's say we leave it that way first of all. And then you're like, okay, since I've done that relationship, then I should be able to do a new column and call it month, year, number, and it's going to be related to, are you seeing? I'm not able to bring the date and time because I wanted to go and grab that month, year column from date table. Not working, right? So if you try to do manual too, maybe you try to do create it from scratch again, it's not going to work. Let me tell you what I mean. If I try to do from scratch and I say this is equal to var the month number, which is equal to switch. So in assuming you want to do this really lengthy approach. left of month year, three, one, and then say that, so that everything doesn't look too. So if this is Jan, then that should be 1, right? Then if this is Feb, then this should be 2. Then if this is March, it's not going to work, but let's just keep doing it. So that when I do the real thing that works, you will appreciate it. This is equal to May. This is an opportunity for you to also get used to the formula called switch. This is equal to July. This is equal to August. This is equal to September. This is equal to October. This is equal to November. This is equal to December. I can end it here, right? So all what I need you to do now is you should return. Year. Year is going to be right of the month. Let's go here for joint with the month number. Okay. This is it. So you see, kind of, I need this to be this way: 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Yeah, I need it that way. That's how the way that will make sense for what I need to do. What happened now? Need it to be text. Because I need that thing that way. Need it to be. I need that particular 0 there. All right, so great. So much for the preliminaries. Now to the main event. So you'll be like, so now this is done, right? Can't I just come here, pick here, and say sort by year months? There's going to be a problem, huh? Just watch and see. See? It's going to say circular dependency. You cannot sort by, you cannot use this one to be sorted by something that is feeding on it. There's a formula here now, right? There's a formula here that is actually, let me close this. There is a formula that is depending on this. So you cannot use the same outcome to sort this one, right? So what then can I do to so what then can I do to so what then can I do to join late? Yeah, there will be the recording. What then can I do to achieve this, right? I'm going to show you what I should have done, right? So I'm going to go back to my original formula, the formula that created this. If you remember, in my date table, right, I already have a column. I already have this there. I already have this month year number, right? So why not bring it from there, right? So let us see how we're going to do that. I'm going to go back to that my target table. Great. I'm going to delete this one, since as we all have noticed, it's not doing what I need. So I'm going to delete that one. And then, so much for all the troubles, the formulas and all of that. So I'm going to modify this. I'm going to say that instead of me getting these things, I'm going to tell it to bring summarize and get for me in the date table. You should get for me what are the things I need? I need the month year, and I also need the month year number. So you should get for me those two things. And voila. Can you see? So this cross join, is able to allow me to now do that same here, but now I have the two fields I need. And I can do this, I can come here and say you should sort this by month here, and it's not going to complain. So it's going to work, right? Let's see. You see, it's worked. And I can go back here and check it out, and you'll find out that my table is now arranged in normal sequence of it's looking funny, right? Let's check what is sorted by. Sort by month here. So in fact, in ascending order. Voila. So this is what we normally want to see, right? So I'm going to draw the curtain here, but I hope at least I've touched things that is beneficial to those of us in the beginner level, and hopefully something that is beneficial to even those of us who are in the advanced level. This cross join is an amazing formula that allows you to create new dimensions of your data. Summarize too is an amazing formula if you've not used before. So thank you very, very much out of YouTube. You can just go through that email and click on the direct link to the recording. So I'm going to just post in a chat box the community link. So community joining link. So once you join the community, you will always be in the loop of everything. So thank you. Yes, it's always 6 p.m. Nigerian time. So thank you very much. Have a nice Sunday. Well, Sunday is almost over. But have a nice week ahead. Huh?